But what comes along with that decision is carrying out your obligation to buy and sell foreign exchange at the rate that you have pegged or fixed, means that you have inadvertently or simultaneously determined your monetary policy. Because every action to buy and sell foreign exchange is simultaneously a decision to sell or buy the Jamaican dollars that are being offered in exchange for it. So a fixed exchange rate, properly conducted, necessarily means that the central bank chooses to have its monetary policy be automatic, be determined at the foreign exchange window. What are the advantages and disadvantages of each? Well, they're actually quite a long list, but we're going to focus on one particular element. The big advantage of having a flexible exchange rate is that it is able to act as a shock absorber in the economy. If the economy manages to become uncompetitive, let us say that wage increases in the economy for a couple of years outstrip productivity growth. Or let us say that the economy suffers from a natural disaster which destroys part of the capital stock. Productivity falls and the economy becomes uncompetitive. The advantage of having a flexible exchange rate is that a depreciation of the exchange rate will be automatic in most instances and will restore competitiveness. Because what the depreciation does is instantly cuts everybody's wages in real terms across the board. The purchasing power of the same whatever $100,000 a year you used to earn falls, and everybody's effective real wage is reduced. And that helps to restore competitiveness quickly. In the absence of that, the uncompetitive economy is not able to sell as much as it did before, and firms have to close, people become unemployed, factories become idle. And so you go through what is usually a protracted period of contraction. A fixed exchange rate, in contrast, has the considerable advantage that it can act as an anchor for monetary policy. Now, anybody with even a passing familiarity with the inflationary history of the Latin American and Caribbean region will realize that up until recently, inflation was easily one of the biggest problems that the region faced. Whereas the US, Canada, Britain, and famously Germany before the European Union managed to maintain low single-digit inflation rates for long periods of time, many Latin American and Caribbean countries had average inflation rates over the last 30 to 40 years that range between 20 and 100%. And that is because of the difficulty of maintaining sound monetary policy, part of which stemmed from the obligation of central banks to print money to finance fiscal deficits, and part of which stemmed from the temptation to put excess money creation into the economy whenever the economy tended to slow down as a way to boost expenditure and therefore avoid a contraction. But the result of all of this was that these economies had a tendency to high inflation. If you have a fixed exchange rate, we have indicated that it determines your monetary policy at the foreign exchange window. And so if you restrict your expansion and contraction of money to what happens at the foreign exchange window, then it anchors your monetary policy and ties your inflation rate by and large to the inflation rate of the country to which you have pegged your exchange rate.